It's us operating at the optimal level and really being able to show up every single day and put forth our best selves. Now, that doesn't mean every single day we'll be at our best, but just putting forth our best selves on that particular or specific day.
We all know that LeBron James spends millions of dollars pretty much conditioning his body, making sure it's top tier shape in order to be an elite athlete, what we know as one of the GOATs, right? Now, my question is for creators and entrepreneurs, what does that investment look like for us from a more mental and brain health kind of vibe? Because clearly some of us don't necessarily need to condition our bodies per se to make some of the decisions we do or continue to work in our craft, but we constantly have to work on our mind. So my question was, what is our LeBron James formula as top tier creators and high level performing entrepreneurs? Before I get to kind of our quote unquote special guest about that, I would love to know what Moose thinks about it.
Yeah, I mean, it's so cool how you kind of came up with that concept, right? I think a lot of people were also giving you credits to like, yo, how did you come up with that question? Because it brought up a lot of people, or it put people in a position to start really thinking about how do you accelerate the health of not just your mental and physical being, but your brain, because that is a part of your body that is responsible for a lot of what you experience or what you create or the decisions that you make. And quite honestly, I don't think I've ever spent time thinking about that before you asked it. You know, like I have my kind of personal routines, my spiritual routines that I do on a pretty regular basis. I tend to be pretty consistent with that, but nothing specific for my brain. So the question has me in a position now that is trying to look for ways to do for my brain as I do for everything else, like my physical, my mental, my spiritual. I don't know that I do anything for my brain. So I gotta get up to speed with that.
Listen, it's gonna make a lot of people think, but of course, with permission, like I said, I asked a lot of people, and I do have this all in the folder, but I'm gonna be selfish with it for a little bit until I figure this out, right? Because this question was really sparked by me trying to figure out what's my next level, right? And what I'm realizing is that I do work best when my mind is clear and like at highest level. But how do I maintain that? Or how do I trigger a new level for my brain? So like, this is where that really came from. But I had to ask the one and only Inky Johnson this question. And you already know he's going to come with a profound answer. So let's play that real quick.
Beast, what's going on? Great question. And I hope I can do it justice. And I know everybody has a different perspective on it. But it's very intriguing. You know, when you talk about high level individuals and what they do in terms of the sacrifices to operate at the optimal level, right? And so I think one of the things in our space, you know, as creators, as entrepreneurs, even for me, just as a, you know, speaker and entrepreneur, just the preparation piece, right? Like when I started preparing differently, it changed not only my business, it changed my life drastically, right? When I went from just showing up to speak at a gig to really getting information, really doing conference calls, really searching, like, what is it about this company? What is it that's important to this company? It's the same version of LeBron saying, hey man, what can I do in terms of my health for longevity? What can I do so I can sustain? What can I do so my body can recover faster? It's the same with me going into a room and figuring out, all right, what is it that's important to Chick-fil-A? All right, what is it that's important to Uber? What is it that's important to Penske, right? But also understanding how environment affects that. Also understanding how people that we talk to on a daily basis affects that. Also understanding how the information that we consume affects that, right? And when I say affect that, what that is us operating at the optimal level and really being able to show up every single day and put forth our best selves. Now, that doesn't mean every single day we'll be at our best, but just putting forth our best selves on that particular or specific day. But it's very intriguing, I think, when you speak to research and preparation. I think that's a piece that can help us sustain, but also have longevity in terms of our careers and what we do. But also when it comes to working out, right? Taking care of our bodies, right? Because for me, I'm gonna be real, I work out a lot, but I work out more so for my mental health than my physical, right? I work out so my mind state can be right. Like, it's not a speaking engagement that I've ever done that I haven't worked out prior to, speaking, right? I always work out, whether it's right before or the day of, before I speak. And so it's different little things that works for different people. But I think, when you talk preparation, when you talk research, when you talk about the people that we hang around, when you talk about the things that we speak, but also the information that we consume, because all of it plays an important and vital role to us operating at the optimal level. Like LeBron goes and said, man, let me get a dietitian, right? Let me make sure my body is getting the proper amount of rest so I can recover. Let me make sure I got the proper trainers, right? And so looking at our careers and figuring out what's some of those things that can help us operate at that level. And so for me, preparation, the people I speak to, the information I consume, making sure I'm working out so my mind state can be in a healthy place, but also the information that I'm consuming, making sure that it puts me in a great space, and just understanding what I'm trying to do and what I'm trying to accomplish when I walk into a room, not only for my business and my career, but just as a man, holistically. Hope this helps. I know it was a little bit long, but just wanted to do it justice. Thanks, peace.
I love it. I love it. I love when deep people really get an opportunity to just, share their point of view. But well said, man. Well said. I definitely think that's a part of it, right? Because even if, and I'm focused more on the brain power of it, because I feel like that part of the question is probably the area that I'm least, maybe I dedicate the least amount of time to from a health standpoint. Mm-hmm. Sure, you can say like, hey, working out, I get some benefits from working out for my brain health, or from eating healthy, I get some benefits for that, or for my, sure, they're all interconnected. But I know for a fact there are things that you can specifically do for that. Mm-hmm. But when you hear something like even what Inky's saying here, right, talking about preparation, there is a level of, say, relief that your brain is going to experience when it knows that what you're about to do, you're already prepared for. Right. You don't got to stress for it. There's no anxiety. You've put yourself through the training to perform, or you've put it under the condition that it needs to be in so that it can perform when the lights are on. So I do like that. And it's also cool to see how simple the answer is. It's not super off the wall for him. It's mm-hmm. just a matter of, hey, my preparation went to another level. Yeah. And that can mean something specific for every single person who's listening here, something that you might have overlooked or underplayed or downplayed and said, hey, it's not that important, but you can include it to your preparation and possibly receive or see much greater results. And more importantly, brain health. I'm gonna keep using that. Brain health to help you grow in those areas that we're talking about. Yeah,
there's so much, and I went further clearly with the conversation with Inky, but there's so much that he said that I think we just don't put enough emphasis on. Like when he was talking about, the conversations that I'm having, right? That's all part of it. Of course, when you can think about working out, when you feel better, physically, mentally, that also plays a part as well. But the who you talk to and what you're consuming with an open mind, what I love about Inky, it doesn't matter who it is he grabs a lesson from every single person. He has a conversation super open-minded, and like, because it's just a different perspective that maybe he didn't understand, or maybe he never heard before. And I relate it all back to experiences, right? He's opening himself to different perspectives and different experiences that he doesn't have on a regular, or is just very intentional having. And I'm like, and we had more conversations, like, also it breaks down into community as well, of something that has to be part of this like new brain health kind of roadmap that I'm calling it, because there's so many different things you can do to strengthen your mind, right? Just like how LeBron uses different technology and different exercises, and like there's always different things. There's not just one thing he's spending all this money on, right?
Right.
And so what I'm hearing is, okay, not only experiences, not only conversations, of course, the higher education and just mastering your craft. What are you doing intentionally that you are getting better and sharpening your tools in your mind every single day? I loved, which we didn't play, was what Willie Mo said about how he reads his books. So he reads 3 books a month, 1 Audible and 2 physical, right? 2 hardcover. And I'm like, there a reason? Like, that's first off the
Pretty
odd
specific.
number. Right. And you're dividing it instead of saying all Audible or all, hardcover. And he's like, look, I'm on the road, and so I don't want to listen to music. I always want to consume information. So when I'm driving the kids, I'm listening to audiobooks, right? So I'm listening to one, and then the hardcover, because the focus is when you are reading the book physically. You could get distracted doing Audible. You could do multiple things and still receive the information, but you are focused on reading that book. And I'm like, that makes sense, because I don't like reading. I don't like reading. I have short attention span, but it makes sense, because if you're trying to strengthen your mind and your brain, you have to concentrate on that focus, like, to what you're doing, because now you're allowing, I just don't, you're finding an excuse. Oh, well, I have a short attention span, I'm just going to listen to the Audible. So if there was a situation to come about, you will find an excuse to not focus and find the easier way to do it. Like, having these different conversations is just making me like aware of just the little things that we do.